All right, we are at the week 18-1 intervention concept. And so we're going to go through this idea. Now, this is all about area of circles. You can see that week 18 concept, 18-1, area of circles. So we've got a couple of problems here. Now, remember, you don't watch these videos until after you've attempted the problems, at least attempted. If you get stuck, there are 2 problems on each page. You can go ahead and watch the video and use it to work through problem 1 and then pause the video and try to solve problem 2 on your own. So let's get started. So we're looking at area of circles, and we know that when you're dealing with area of circles, we are dealing with the formula area equals pi times the radius squared. So before we go any further, let's get that formula down. Area equals pi times the radius squared. And for pi, we're using 3.14. So that's going to translate to 3.14 times the radius times the radius. Radius squared means radius times radius. So here's our first story. A hiker was last seen near the ranger station in the Green Mountain forests. Searchers are sent to the area to find the missing hiker. Assume the hiker could walk in any direction at a rate of 4 miles per hour. How large an area would the searchers have to cover if the hiker was last seen 2 hours ago? So let's pull some facts out of this problem. Here's one fact. The hiker travels 4 miles per hour. Here's another fact. Last seen 2 hours ago. So as far as that hiker traveling, we know that the hiker has been traveling 4 miles per hour times 2 hours, which means that hiker could have traveled 8 miles. Now, they tell us that the hiker can travel in any direction. And the geometric figure that goes in any direction is the circle. And I'm going to attempt to draw a circle, and that's not bad. It's one of my better circles. So here's what we know. If the hiker started right here, here's hiker, right in the center of the circle, he could travel in any direction 8 miles. He could have gone this way 8 miles. He could have gone this way 8 miles. Could have gone any direction. So that 8 miles is the radius. We know that the radius of this circle is 8 miles. So once we have that, all we have to do is plug it into our formula. And we already said that the area was going to equal 3.14 times the radius squared. That's 3.14 times 64. 8 squared is 64. And I'm not going to try to do that in my head, and I'm not going to do it longhand because I'm not testing here. I'm not checking, do I know how to multiply with a decimal? I'm checking, do I know how to solve a problem? And so I'm going to use a calculator, and it tells me that they are going to need to search 200.96 square miles. It's a pretty good size space, 296 square miles. All right. Then they say, hey, hang on a minute. How much additional area? Now let's be sure we understand what they're asking. They're not asking for area. They're asking for additional area. Would the searchers have to cover if the hiker was last seen 4 hours ago? So this changes. So now what they're telling us is our hiker was traveling 4 miles per hour times 4 hours, which means he could have traveled a total of 16 miles. That means the 16 is now the radius. That's the new radius. So we're going to go ahead and plug that into our formula. 3.14 times 16 squared. And remember, just as a reminder, 16 squared equals 16 times 16. So let me grab my calculator again. Get it kind of out of the way here. And I'm going to multiply 16 times 16. Oh, I got to be careful. Notice I only put a 1 in there that time. So let's clear it and start again. You want to always make sure that you're putting in the right numbers. 16 times 16, 256. So I have 3.14 times 256. So 256 times 3.14 is equal to 803.84 square miles. But that's not my answer, because my question was, get my calculator out of the way a little bit, additional area. So if the hikers already, or if the searchers, excuse me, if they had already searched this much, and that somebody came back and said, oh wait, he's actually been gone 4 hours, they wouldn't search this again. They would search the extra. You know, the circle got bigger because there's another 8 miles here, because a total of 16 now. So they would search the extra, and that extra would be 803.84 minus the 200.96 they'd already searched. So my 803.84, I'm back in my calculator now up here in the corner. 803.84 minus 200.96 equals 602.88 miles squared additional. All right, so your answer to the first one, 296 miles squared. That was gone for 2 hours, total of 8 miles. And your answer to the second one, 602.88 miles squared. So now you've seen one. So go ahead, and if you got those right, fantastic, you're ready to move on to the bottom. If you didn't get them right, then look over your work, look over this explanation, and then try to rework the bottom. All right, let's scroll down. So same idea. We got our hiker again. Man, those green mountain forests are like snagging hikers. All right, so in this case, hiker could walk any direction 3 miles per hour. How large an area would they search if the hiker was last seen 3 hours ago? So here's our important information. 3 miles per hour, seen 3 hours ago. So what we know is this hiker has been walking at 3 miles per hour times, or for 3 hours. This hiker could have traveled 9 miles. So when we set up our area that the hiker could walk, and here's the hiker in the center, we know that that hiker could have gone any direction for 9 miles, which makes 9 the radius. So for this particular problem, the radius is equal to 9. So doing part A, and there's not a lot of room on the side there, so I'm going to do part A down here. So doing part A, we have 3.14 times 9 squared. Remember, area is equal to pi times the radius squared, which is pi. We're using 3.14, and the radius squared is the radius times the radius. So my 9 squared is 81. I have 3.14 times 81. Grab my calculator out. 81 times 3.14. Remember, multiplication is commutative. It doesn't matter what order I stick it in the calculator. And we get 254.34 square miles. So this is our answer to A, 254.34 square miles. For part B, let's separate this out. For part B, it says how much additional area. So again, they're not asking how much, they're asking how much additional. How much additional area would the searchers have to cover if the hiker was last seen 5 hours ago? So we're going to have the same 3 miles per hour, but this time times 5 hours. So we have a new radius of 15 miles. So we have 3.14 times 15 squared. Let me clear my calculator out here. 15 squared, there's that little square root button, 225. So I have 3.14 times 225. So 225 times 3.14. That gives me 706.5 square miles. Remember, we're looking for additional here. So I have to take the 706.5 and I need to subtract the 254.34. So my 706.5 minus the 254.34, and that is equal to 452.16 miles squared additional. And that is the answer to part B. Okay, so now you've had a chance to look those over. Remember, this is Concept 18.1. You can also go back and look at tests 18, 19, and 20 to see examples of these problems. So use all of those resources. And then when you feel like you're ready to go, come to me and we'll schedule an intervention test.